Big 12 Radio. This is Big 12 Today. We are presented by Modelo and, of course, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. Along with James Westling, I am Ari Temkin, and we are so pleased to be joined right now by the CEO and president of the Peach Bowl. Gary Stokan is joining us here from the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Gary, you were just saying during the break, 28 years as the CEO and president of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, and this will be your final game, the semifinal matchup here.
Yeah, this will be the last one. I've been very blessed to be in sports for 47 years. And as I told you earlier, I've never worked a day in my life. It's been a passion. And whether it's been coaching basketball at North Carolina State or working for Adidas, working for Converse, having my own sports marketing company, and then the last 28 years working as president of Atlanta Sports Council and president and CEO of the Peach Bowl.
Gary, how many years has it been exactly since you've been with the Peach Bowl?
28 years.
28 years. Man, a lot has changed when it comes to college football and the bowl system in 28 years.
And the Peach Bowl.
And the Peach Bowl.
Yeah.
Give us
my first game, our own newspaper, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Mark Bradley. The headline was Georgia going to Peach Bowl. I picked Georgia, who was borderline top 25, and Virginia, who was number 12. And the AJC said, Georgia going to Peach Bowl, a third-tier bowl game.
Well, give us
We've been like the phoenix from the ashes in Atlanta. We've risen to, over the last 6 years, only the Rose Bowl has beaten us in viewership and attendance.
Man, that's amazing. Well, I would love to get a peek behind the curtain in terms of, like you said, we picked Georgia. So what goes into that process? What are things that you're evaluating as you get towards the end of the season and look at some of the schools that over the years have played in the Peach Bowl?
You know, it's ironic, I guess, from my background starting in coaching. I pretty much had probably like, I want to say 10 to 15 items that I would put on a piece of paper, and then next to it, I would, rank the teams. And back then, that was my job, big part of my job. Matter of fact, when I selected LSU in 2000, my second year, Nick Saban was the head coach at LSU. It's the only time in 28 years I've gotten a call from a coach saying, hey, we need to get to your bowl game.
Wow.
And they were 8-4. He was in his second year trying to build a brand down there at LSU. And he calls me and he says, hey, Gary, we need to get to the Peach Bowl. It's the best bowl we can get to. We're trying to build a program down here. So I went to my board, and back then that was part of my job, obviously. And I said, well, we're going to select LSU and against Georgia Tech, who was number 12, I think. And my board said, no, we don't want them. And I was in my second year in 2000. I started in 1998. And I said, why? And they said, well, we had DiNardo at LSU. He didn't promote the game. He didn't, they didn't sell any tickets. We don't want to work with LSU again. And I said, well, they got a new head coach. So I flew down. I met with Mark Emmert, who then was the chancellor of LSU. In the past, became NCAA president in the future. Charlie Weems, their chairman of the board, and Nick Saban. And I said, look, you guys got to promote the game. You got to sell tickets. You got to get people excited about this. And they said, yes, we'll do it. I came back to my board. I said, I met with these guys. I believe them. We're going to select them. And they said, we don't want them. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll put my job on the line. If they don't sell tickets and Saban doesn't promote the game, then you can fire me. And they came up, I still remember the number, 16,421 tickets on day one of sales at LSU.
Wow.
Which may still be an all-time record for first day sales of a bowl game. And they came up, and Rohan Davey came in for Josh Booty in the second half, hit Reed in the back of the end zone, and they won 28-14. And when I went back to campus, as I've done for 27 years now, to do a good, the bad, and the ugly, just as our client, how do we continually improve? And Saban told me, he says, Gary, he says, everybody we recruited that year signed with us. And that was the Marcus Spears and Booger McFarland and that whole crew that wound up winning the national championship in 2003. So you fast forward to 2007, Nick's at Alabama, goes 7-6, beating Louisiana Monroe his first year. And in his second year, we had put in a bid to host the BCS because they went to a championship game. And they decided to go with a double host model where the Sugar, Rose, Orange, and Fiesta would host their game and then rotate the national championship. So we didn't win the bid. The presidents had legislated a 12th game in the schedule in 2007. And so I said to my board, I said, being a competitive son of a gun, I said, look, if they're not going to let us on the BCS on the backside of the season, we're starting the BCS on the front side of the season. So I started the kickoff game and got Clemson, who had CJ Spiller. They were number 9. And I went to Nick and I said, Nick, I'd love to have Alabama come over because you weren't going to get any TV money. You needed tickets to make the payouts to the teams to have them come. And I knew with Clemson, Alabama, I'd have a sellout in Atlanta. Well, Nick said, Gary, you help me at LSU. I'll help you get this started. Alabama came in, won the game 34-10. Got the cover of Sports Illustrated, Alabama's back. And the next year I had him against Alabama against Virginia Tech, who was number 7. Alabama's number 5. Alabama came in, won the game, won the national championship. And Nick would tell you if he's on this call, that was the start of Alabama's run that they went on. So,
man, that's cool. Now, Gary, did you tell Nick Saban the first go around during those conversations, like, hey, I just put my job on the line for you. You've got to sell some tickets.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I told him, we got to stand up here and make this thing happen. And so they made it happen on the ticket side, on the business side, and then they took care of it on the field as well. So Nick's always remembered that. We've had a great relationship, and kind of interesting to have it come full circle in 2007-08 when we started the kickoff game.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're talking with Gary Stokan here, the CEO and president of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Also was honored in Vegas as a recipient of the National Football Foundation Legacy Award. So congratulations to you on that.
Thank you.
You know, if Texas Tech wins their quarterfinal match in the Orange Bowl, then they'll get an opportunity to play in the semifinal game in the Peach Bowl. Last year, Arizona State, Texas in the Peach Bowl was an incredible game. What are some of the memories you have of that game? And, you know, from my vantage point, it was incredible to watch a guy like Cam Scadaboo, who we had been watching all year, you know, really explode on a national stage.
Yeah, that was one of the most remarkable performances I've seen in the 27 games so far that I've been involved in. Matter of fact, he won the MVP, and we've never had a losing player win the MVP of the game. And I walked into the press conference with the trophy, and because I had done the trophy out on the field with Texas, and I walked into the Arizona State press conference and went up to him and said, I've never had a MVP from the losing team, let alone an MVP that threw up on the sidelines of the game. And so I presented him the trophy there at the press conference. But yeah, it was quite a performance from whether it was running the ball or even throwing the ball. He did a great job. And I just went to the Arizona State-Arizona game, last Friday or the Friday before, right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And he was there on the sidelines, and we were laughing about it. I guess he's heard from the Giants, and so he went back to Arizona State to go to the Arizona game. But yeah, it was quite a performance. Kenny Dillingham had a memorable year, obviously, and for the lack of a targeting call, Arizona State probably wins that game.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Gary, with your pedigree and your track record and how you've grown this incredible event in your 27, 28 years, let's say hypothetically you were the CEO of all of college football. What's the first thing you would change?
Which we need, not necessarily me, but we need, I've been the benefactor. My dad had 3 jobs, made $17,000, the most money he ever made. So I wasn't going to school, and I got a scholarship and, played basketball at North Carolina State, picked splinters out of my butt, but started one game and got my education and then coached there for 3 years. And, the mission of college football or college sports is to give a kid an opportunity for an education, get him a free education with a scholarship, and then get him a degree. And we are totally missing the mission of college football now, college athletics now. It's all about the money is the answer to everything, and then you ask the question. And unfortunately, we need a commissioner of college football, college basketball, women's basketball, and college baseball. Their board should be 2 presidents, 2 ADs, 2 commissioners, 2 coaches, and 2 players. The Olympic sports should be put under the national governing bodies, USA Swimming, USA Gymnastics, USA Track and Field, and being a part of their competitions where they can compete regionally, where you don't have to spend money sending a softball team from Rutgers to, play USC in California, which is crazy. There's 3 ways to make money. One is to create more revenue. 2 is to cut expenses, and 3 is to do both. And unfortunately, we're everything is out of whack. But if you had a commissioner of college football, to your question, and then you had a board that I just talked about, now you could decide what the vision of college football is going to be. Without a vision, you have chaos. And the presidents, God bless them, on campuses are running billion-dollar companies on campus, can't know everything about sports, don't know everything about sports.
Right.
So they can't cast a vision of where the organization's going to go, but they're in the leadership position. And so you've got a problem there, number one, with leadership. And they don't want a lot of heat. And you got to be one to take heat as a leader because you're not going to get everything right. So if we had a commissioner and that board that I just talked about, they could create the vision and then deal with the calendar, the signing date for high school, the transfer portal, the contracts for the coaches, that they're not, they're contracted for a year like the NFL guys are, and they're after their bowl game, they're done. There's so many issues that, everybody in Las Vegas talked about the same thing, but nobody is in charge of figuring out the solutions.
Right.
There's 2 parts of a problem: identify the problem and then create the solution. We got a ton of problems, but no one's creating solutions.
Who are the people that can create those solutions?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's a great question. And, I think it takes a consortium. I think it's, like I said, it's got to be the presidents, it's got to be the coaches, it's got to be the commissioners, it's got to be the ADs, it's got to be the players and the presidents, and they all got to, you got to get representation in a room and say, okay, I'm a business guy. The Peach Bowl was a 3rd-tier bowl game. We made it, arguably, one of the best bowl games in the country. And we did it through a process that I call AIM, which is Asset Integrated Management, where you take each problem and you drive it through, what the actuals of the problem are, what the strategies and tactics are to figure out the answer, and then you come up with a solution. And you don't get everything right, but at least you're trying to get it right. And by trying to get it right, you'll create the right answer. And so that's what we need to do, get a consortium of all those people in a room and say, okay, let's deal with each issue and let's go down the line. Do you think that's being done now?
No.
No. And so you're not going to come up with solutions. So we're going to struggle. And I really worry, everybody says it's about the student athletes. Well, I don't know that we're teaching them much with dealing with adversity, which is what life's all about. Adversity reveals your character. And as you know, you guys have lived life. Life's going to smack you in the face, and you're going to have to deal with adversity. And these kids aren't dealing with adversity. They're transferring or, whatever it is. And I'm afraid there's going to be mental issues down the road here with some of these kids, because when that money dries up from playing and you got to go out and pick up a lunch pail and work every day, that is not going to be an easy transition. And so I worry about the kids. I worry about the game. The game is a great game. It's hard to kill it, but we could be doing so much better And whether it's combining all of the TV rights, we're the second most favorite sport in the country behind the NFL. But yet, what we're making in TV revenues probably maybe about 6 billion all told together. We could be at probably 8 billion if we combine things.
Wow.
Think what you could do with another $2 billion.
Wow.
I mean, each NFL team gets $10 billion, a year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, 10 billion is the NFL contract. Each team's getting $135 million. We lost the history of the Pac-12, 110 years, for about 20 to 30 million dollars. If we'd combine our TV packages together, we'd make a lot more money.
Yeah.
But
Well said. Gary Stokan, great to visit with you, the CEO and president of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Hopefully we'll be featuring a Texas Tech Big 12 team this season. So, Gary, thanks for your time. Congratulations on an incredible career, and can't wait to see this Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl this year.
thanks, Ari and James. Have a blessed Christmas and holiday season.
You too
You
as
too.
well.
Thanks,
Merry
Gary.
Christmas.
Thank you.
Gary Stokan joining us here on Big 12 Radio. And, I mean, it's such a great point about, facing adversity. And, what's really interesting, too, on that front, James, is so Iowa State and K-State opted out of bowl games. And I know from the Iowa State side, it was like, well, they took a vote amongst the players, and the players didn't want to play it. Man, I don't know that was the right decision. I mean, you think about, the ultimate of leaning into facing adversity. Why? At some point, somebody's got to be the adult in the room and say, no, we're playing this game because it's important, because nobody ever opts out of bowl games, because it's never happened before. It's like in college football, there's no adults in the room that are making the right decisions here, guided by the right reasons. I mean, you've got Peep of Aqua going crazy like a petulant child publicly in a way that's like blaming everybody else but yourself. Mm-hmm. At what point do we look inward and blame ourselves for things that happen in our lives? It's a really important lesson in life. Some things you're responsible for, good or bad.
And the Kansas State players also took a vote, and that's why they opted out of their bowl game. So you've got two teams in the Big 12, and then down the line you had two or three others that could have played in a bowl game, and they all opted out. And that is an example of being hit with adversity, to Gary's point, and how do you respond? I love Gary's vision when he's talking about college football has a lack of mission statement and vision right now. Everybody's got these problems identified, but nobody in charge of coming up with the solution. And that's a lack of leadership at the top. And it's going to take a tremendous effort from a lot of different parties doing a lot of different things to come together to identify who that leadership or who that alpha is going to be that's going to lead college football into this new era. College football needs a commissioner. College football needs a CEO. We don't have one. And Gary's talking about we need a CEO and we need a board. And I love the kind of the way that he distributed who those board members would be. It sounded even. Everything sounds really good. But who's going to be the one that rallies the troops and makes it happen?
That's James Westling. I am Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo. Each day we're unveiling a new position group in our all-conference teams. Running backs are next, and this should be a highly competitive category. With James Westling, I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios.